If you were comparing the beverage brand Prime to a kid's toy franchise, which one do you think would be the best fit and why? Before I connect the dots between Prime and kids' toys with consumer behavior principles, let me first provide some background details on the functional beverage brand. To help those few people that choose to live under a rock and haven't heard of Prime, that officially launched in January 2022 by YouTube stars Logan Paul and KSI in partnership with Congo Brands. In content from last October, I stated, at this point, do I even need to kind of chronicle the successes of Prime? In its first 11 and a half months of operations, Prime reportedly generated sales of around $115 million in 2022. That's essentially unheard of in any beverage category that isn't a brand or product extension by one of the biggest beverage brand portfolios. What's even more impressive is that Prime now has over $550 million in tracked channel retail sales over the last 52 weeks, and the run rate will likely reach $1 billion by the end of 2023. And just to provide some updated retail sales data from NielsenIQ, Prime Hydration grew 510% year over year, reaching just shy of $660 million in US tracked channels. If you combine that with non tracked channels in international markets, I'd expect that number to be likely north of $800 million in 2023. Furthermore, it was just announced before the end of 2023 that the brand sold its 1 billionth, with a B, bottle in less than 2 years. Prime is, or maybe the appropriate verb tense now would be, was a fucking rocket ship brand. I know CPG industry pundits and those getting off on clicks love to trash Prime, but I've never been one of those, and I certainly won't start now. Simply put, you can never take away the beverage brand's achievement of reaching those ungodly sales levels at record speeds, or what Prime has done in terms of overall marketplace influence and impact. Heck, they still have the world in a stranglehold right now, hence why I'm making this content. But as Prime blasts towards officially reaching billion-dollar brand status in terms of US track channel retail sales in 2024, it inevitably faces the immovable object in business finance called the law of large numbers. So when you see these Prime haters regurgitating Nielsen IQ retail sales data that shows sales volume being down over the last 4 weeks in early March 2024, or only up about 27% over the last 12 weeks, that is what's going on, as the brand is now facing tougher comparatives. And I think I saw similar Prime hydration retail sales data trends in the UK. So, regardless of what side of the pond that you're on, it's likely a similar storyline being propagated across mainstream and social media. But this content isn't about simply providing you with retail sales data trends. Those numbers were just a required contextual base of knowledge that allows me to explore some possible underlying drivers more easily without having everyone confused. Also, to kind of spice things up, I'll bring most of these underlying driver possibilities to life through a storytelling analogy with children's toys. But let's first bring the subject matter of Prime and kids closer together. I mentioned this in previous content, but the hydration category is all about iterative innovation. Prime piggybacked off elements from market leaders like Gatorade and Body Armor, but also rode a little bit of the liquid IV effect wave. Gatorade was all about athlete endorsement deals. Body Armor and Liquid IV gave athletes and celebrity endorsers a small fraction of equity in the company, whereas Prime leaned into the creator economy by making them large equity holders and hands on business faces of the brand. The creator or celebrity packaged goods trend is one that sees the most popular talent of today becoming the biggest CPG brands of tomorrow. It took less than 2 years in the market for Prime Hydration to become the fourth largest sports drink brand in America, with only the three sports drink brands owned by PepsiCo or Coca-Cola ahead of them. But more importantly, Prime achieved that with fractions of the marketing spend that it took Body Armor to reach that retail sales level years ago. It's because when you hit on the right celebrity and right product element, you can pull forward brand awareness to a level that takes competitors years or many millions of dollars. The major benefit of creator packaged goods trend is that Logan Paul and KSI are masters at winning consumer attention through today's kingmakers, aka digital platform algorithms. Moreover, Prime benefited from the liquid IV effect democratizing the hydration category. And because a large share of the most diehard audience of Logan Paul and KSI are under 18 years old, they've proven to be extremely powerful individuals in creating commercial value by injecting a level of youthful energy that made the beverage category fun, thus introducing it to a new, younger demographic that wasn't originally passionate about the sports drink market. That categorical incrementality was super appealing to large retail partners that quickly found shelf space in sets that are still owned by Gatorade. And while I'm not a fan of current Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer, I do have to give props to one of his speechwriters for throwing in maybe one of the most fire quotes pointed directly at Prime last year, stating one of the summer's hottest status symbols for kids is not an outfit or a toy, it's a beverage. Which brings us back to the connection or trying to connect Prime and kids' toys with consumer behavior principles. As a father of a newborn, I haven't yet personally experienced this, but other more seasoned parents that I've talked to have warned me about when kids have these like constantly changing obsessions for things. As they put it, when they want something, they really want it. And why they want it so badly usually comes down to the famous reasoning of because everyone else has it. And I know I'm picking on kids here, but adults are just as susceptible to influence, as we all have an inherent human tendency to look to others for information about the value of things. The follower mentality is equal parts human seeking decision making efficiency and societal desire to fit in. But kids are less likely to understand abstract social constructs that fuel wanting something like a popular toy, or in this case, Prime. Additionally, kids struggle with delayed gratification, causing a heightened momentum around what's cool in their world. This is even more pronounced in today's TikTok algorithm world that can make even the most unsusceptible adults to influence start believing new alternate realities. And why I made that analogy with kids' toys is that there's well marked patterns that created massive successes in the past. Think about key features that drive toy franchise fads: limited supply or perceived supply constraints that create rarity, elements of collectability, low price, and usually they are made cool because of an influential group. But let's go in reverse order to connect those key features with Prime. We already covered that two of the most influential and well connected YouTubers in the world started Prime, so they made the beverage brand cool from the jump. In terms of product pricing, asking mom or dad to buy you a $3 Prime hydration drink to show off on social media is a relatively easy request. And then Prime has done an amazing job, especially of late, with introducing new small batch limited flavor variants, but more importantly, rare event or location or athlete specific packaging variants that feeds into the brand's collectivity. But even with a constant flow of super creative go to market strategies like what Prime did with its Glowberry launch, it takes more than building frenzy with one off launches to sustain billion-dollar CPG brand retail sales status. And the demand planning alone on that size of a company is extremely tough when you want to properly feed the market growth of mainstay flavor variants, but also not flood it and create an oversupply problem. Because that will inevitably cause retailers to discount excess inventory as the product ages, which locally or maybe regionally wasn't super problematic pre social media for brands like Prime. But now those images shared can take on a life of their own and become perception is reality, misinformation really quick when viewed as a national supply and demand problem. And that's maybe a reason why you're seeing a flurry of posts, articles, or content suggesting that Prime's meteoric rise was over, to the point where it even feels like these people are cheering the impending death of the brand. But is Prime dying? Or put another way, is Prime like hugely successful toy franchises, maybe Pokemon or Barbie or Lego, or those here today, gone tomorrow toy fads like Beanie Babies or Furby or Tamagotchi? And sorry to disappoint you, but I'm not going to directly answer that question. Instead, I'll offer up some thoughts around an interesting consumer behavior theory when you combine the adoption curve and hype cycle together. I think we're past the peak of inflated expectation phase and maybe sitting somewhere around the trough of disillusionment. But the bigger question for Prime is if they can make a smooth transition into the slope of enlightenment phase and cross into majority adoption. This will most likely require higher buy rates from millennial and Gen X, and not just for their kids. See, many of us older millennials and Gen Xers are generally harder to get caught up in the hype because we aren't cool enough. But that doesn't mean we trust our judgments on every purchase. And that tendency to look at the majority is what can create lasting power to CPG brands. So, what does Prime need to do for that to happen? Beyond some maybe like foundational CPG strategic management stuff that's boring to talk about, though, I think it might require Prime to detach itself from the creators that made it cool. Part of winning long term, aka getting a favorable liquidity event within this newer creator or celebrity packaged goods build model, will be how well you manage the key man risk. It pains me to say this as another Northeast Ohioan, but a survey from a few years ago, at least that I saw on the internet, showed that close to 70% had an unfavorable opinion of Logan Paul. And it's mostly because there's this like polarizing method to how mega creators can consistently generate more attention. I'm not telling Congo brands anything they don't already know, and these sponsorship deals they've recently been doing with major athletes or sports leagues and teams are all part of this transitionary phase. This transition strategy looks for more mainstream popular IP like mega celebrities or sports or entertainment franchises as a sort of replacement in consumers' minds that gets that brand from early adoption towards majority adoption. My fear, though, is that Prime didn't become this highly prized brand solely because of slick packaging or being the most innovative product. I believe that Logan Paul and KSI are extremely sharp, ambitious businessmen, and their sparks of marketing creativity will continue to be needed within the brand. Yet, I assume neither are at a place mentally that would allow them to provide that value from behind the scenes. And by ending the content here, I'm sure I've left you on a few cliffhangers within this content. I'd imagine that's especially true for those waiting on the doom and gloom scenario of what could happen to Prime and maybe possible actions by Congo brands if that transition into majority adoption doesn't happen smoothly or not quick enough. But I think I threw a lot of interesting ideas out there to get you thinking, and maybe the rest will play itself out more over time, and I'll revisit it in later content. If that's appealing to you, let me know in the comments below. But I hope you enjoyed this YouTube video. If you did, consider hitting that like button to support me. Also, help me get to my new short-term goal of 4,000 subscribers by hitting that subscribe button. I'd love to see you join me on this journey, but we need to fix the fact that I think slightly more than 90% of you watching this YouTube video right now are not subscribed to my channel, and that makes me extremely sad. But I do want to thank you for tuning in, and I'll see you in the next one.